Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. I'm glad you stopped by. Today, I want to talk about a very serious topic that we've got going on here in the United States of America, and that is how to stop the illegal alien invasion that's currently taking place mostly along our southern border, but also our northern border. So, many people think that, just build a wall and that's going to make it all go away. But, I'm reminded of a great American politician. In fact, I don't even want to call him a politician. He was a statesman. I'm talking about Ron Paul, the man that could have possibly saved America if he had been elected in either 2008 or 2012, I believe is when he ran. Either one of those times, especially in 2012, Ron Paul should have won. But the media, they treated him like a piece of gum stuck to the bottom of their shoe. They treated him like crap, right? But Ron Paul famously said, if you want to stop the invasion of illegal immigrants into the United States, you don't need a wall, because a wall could actually be used to trap people inside. And that's a very libertarian ideology. But he further elaborated and said that he doesn't want an open border and people just coming over here willy-nilly. What he said was, the most important thing I've ever heard come out of a politician's mouth pertaining to the illegal alien invasion that's currently going on. He said, all you have to do is turn off the welfare magnet. See, many people, Americans, don't know. American citizens have been dumbed down to the point that they have no idea that basically the taxpayer money that you're sending into the government right about now, this time of the year, all the time, and it always pisses me off every time I have to pay them to do things that I don't approve of. But anyway, you have to pay them or else they'll come and round your ass up, right? So they take that money and they give a lot of that to illegal aliens through the welfare program. In fact, I want to elaborate on that a little bit more here in just a moment. But first, let's talk about this for a second. I mean, what are we seeing here on the southern border? I'm going to tell you right now, this is a classic example of a Hegelian dialectic that they have created. And if you don't know, basically to summarize that, it means they create the problem, they control the reaction, and they provide the solution. So it's happened over and over and over again. Anytime you're dealing with the government, federal or state level, but mostly the federal government, they love using the Hegelian dialectic to get their way. And after they use the Hegelian dialectic, like they did when Joe Biden took office. See, many people don't know this, but as soon as Joe Biden came in, he got rid of a whole bunch of executive orders that were keeping the illegal invasion at bay, right? Trump had put these things into place that were keeping the border mostly secure. It was more secure than it had been in a very long time under Donald Trump, but they didn't like that, see, because that goes against all of their globalist plans to basically take over the United States of America, in summary. But what this Hegelian dialectic problem, reaction, solution, the problem is the borders are open. The reaction comes from their controlled MSM narrative. So whatever they want to say the problem is, that's what they focus on, right? And you'll notice the MSM narrative is, the humanity, we should be doing more things to help these poor people, that these refugees that just want to come here. They're giving everyone that's invading our country a pass by saying it's a refugee that's coming in here and they're fleeing from, some foreign conflict or whatever. And in reality, many of them will tell you they're just coming here for better economic circumstances so they could, thrive in American economy. Well, that's not one of the qualifiers that allows someone to seek asylum into the United States. But the Biden administration, the Department of Justice, Mayorkas, all these people are ignoring those facts. And they're just saying, come on in, we'll have a hearing for you in like 2030. They're so backlogged now that these hearings are going well into the 2030s before these people even have to come to determine whether or not they're actually refugees or not. So meanwhile, they get to just break the law, and that's not how it worked before. In the past, Trump had the Remain in Mexico policy, where these refugees had to wait down there in Mexico until their refugee legitimacy status was determined, right? So are they really a real refugee under the current terms of the law, or are they just lying to get in for free, right? Well, Biden got rid of all that stuff through executive orders on day one. And then he has the audacity to stand there and claim that this border problem is Trump's fault when he's the one that undermined the laws that were keeping them at bay. He's the one that told the Border Patrol to not enforce these laws and to cut the wire that Texas was putting into place. So he is openly opposing Texas's efforts over and over and over, whether that be the razor wire that they put up or the floating barrier that they put up, or over in Arizona, they made them tear down their shipping container border wall that they constructed, that the state paid for and constructed. Over and over and over, Biden is undermining the state's rights. So that's to kind of paint you a picture of at least how I view what's going on with the current administration and the immigration policy. So they use the Hegelian dialectic all the time on the American people, and they create this problem by undermining the laws, opening the border, and then they're like, oh no, what do we do? This is someone else's fault. And then they provide some sort of Orwellian solution in the end, like digital ID or something like that, you know, biometrics or some other crap that they'll bring in the name of stopping the invasion that's going on. And really, it's all about controlling you more than they do now. So let's get into this stuff that I've written down here. I've got 10 different steps that we can take to stop the illegal invasion. Of course, this is all assuming that, you know, I'm president for a day or whatever, and I could get away with doing this stuff. None of this stuff's going to happen under the current administration, but hopefully some of Trump's people will listen to this and they'll consider some of these things. But let's paint a little background right here. A FAIR study, F-A-I-R study, that's a group that does these sorts of immigration studies. Back in 2017, they found illegal immigrants are a net consumer of taxpayer benefits worth more than $100 billion a year, not including the cost of enforcing the border. So it has nothing to do with Border Patrol, has nothing to do with any of that other stuff, just the federal benefits that these people are taking advantage of. Taxpayer benefits, right, are $100 billion in 2017. The latest report that I saw said they were well over $150 billion in like 2023. So they're going to just keep going up and up and up and up. And that's your tax money going to these people that have broken the law by crossing the border and not coming here through the legal immigration system. So while federal benefits are supposed to be off limits in practice, many are not. More than 25,000 undocumented workers receive subsidized housing, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Children receive free education and most qualify for English lessons and free school breakfast and lunch. I mean, let me ask you, I know a lot of you are out there scraping by right now. Are they giving your kids free breakfast and lunch and all these other benefits? No, only to the illegals. You know, there's a meme going around right now. I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's funny because it's true. A lot of people are saying that if you want to be free in America, what you have to do is renounce your citizenship, like move to Guatemala or something and come up here illegally, and you'll have more rights than an American citizen. And sadly, that meme is 100% accurate. That's the truth. That's what's going on right now under Joe Biden's so-called leadership. So moving on here. Illegal immigrants do not qualify for Obamacare, but under federal law, hospitals and clinics are required to provide urgent medical care without regard to legal status. So they don't even look at legal status. They just say, there's a sick person, they're dying, we have to help them. Maybe that has to do with the Hippocratic Oath and stuff like that. I don't know, but pregnant women are entitled to prenatal and postpartum care under the Women, Infants, and Children program. Infant delivery costs are paid for by Medicare. A study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found a federal state immigrant insurance program costs $2 billion a year in emergency treatment, not including the $1.24 billion in infant delivery expenses. So they're bleeding us dry, guys. I mean, you thought $100 billion or more sent to Ukraine was bad. This is going on right here every year in our budget, taking away from services that the American people, the American citizens deserve, not these freeloaders who are coming up here looking, I mean, in some cases, maybe they are actually refugees, you know, like some of the people leaving Haiti or whatever. But even then, we have to raise an eyebrow to that sort of immigration when the people that are coming from Haiti, many of them, they're practicing some pretty disgusting habits down there, such as cannibalism. I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So illegal immigrants are not entitled to food stamps, but families with U.S.-born children are. So according to the Center for Immigration Studies, 31% of such families use the SNAP program, and more than 50% of Central American families in the United States use at least one welfare program. So I hope that you guys smell what I'm stepping in here. Like Ron Paul said, turn the magnet off. What is the magnet? It's all of these taxpayer-funded resources that are bleeding out of our country. Like to talk about another person that ran for presidency way back in the day, Ross Perot basically said that if we did this NAFTA deal, it was going to be a giant vacuum sucking sound that we heard on the southern border. But instead of that, what it is, it's our money and our wealth and our taxpayer money going out so fast that it's making a vacuum sound, like Ross Perot famously said. But anyway, so I've set the plate for you here. I've set the table. You guys can see that we have a serious problem. The laws are not being enforced. People are openly ignoring the laws, which is unconstitutional. We'll get into that here in a little while. But I have some solutions that are common sense solutions that we could all get behind right now. Maybe you don't agree with all these. Maybe if you think some of these are too harsh or too cruel, why don't you let me know down in the comments and we'll start a discussion and a debate about it. Don't just come in there and say some stupid, snarky thing that means nothing. If you want to have a further discussion, please come down in the comments and let me know what your suggestions are. How could we stop this problem? First, you have to admit it's a problem for one thing, but let's get into the steps here. Step 1, eliminate all welfare incentives to non-citizens. No more welfare, no more health care, no more access to women, infants, and children's program benefits. So none of that. We're not paying for your health care. If you get stabbed or shot or something like that, you may end up dying here in America because you're not going to be protected by our health care system. I think that alone, in the minds of these people that are thinking that, hey, I want to go to America because it's so easy there. Once they hear about some of their buddies not getting welfare, no more health care, no more access to women and infants and children program benefits. I mean, I think that will reduce the number of people coming over the border almost instantly. Step 2, eliminate their ability to travel freely once legal status has been determined. Non-citizens will not be allowed the privilege of driving on our roads. No driver's licenses, none of that. And prosecute any states and cities that are giving driver's licenses to illegals. Driving is a privilege of American citizens only. It's exclusive to us. If you want to become an American citizen and get your driver's license, that's great. But otherwise, get bent, put your thumb up in the air, whatever you have to do, but you're not driving on our roads legally. If we catch you driving without a license, automatic deportation. Public transportation ban for non-citizens. So no more buses, no more planes, trains, or automobiles for illegals. None of this crap. It would all be illegal. We would not allow these businesses that control, like, whatever, United Airlines or Greyhound buses or whatever. If they're transporting illegals, they would be criminally charged. That's how it has to happen. We have to go after the companies that are allowing this crap to happen. So, I think that's pretty, a lot of people are going to say that's cruel and that's unusual. No, it's not, because again, like I said, driving is a privilege of American citizens only. And I would argue traveling within the United States, within the continental United States, is also a privilege of American citizens only. We need to make it that way. It would shut down this crap almost overnight. If they can't travel, they're not going to want to come here anymore. Step 3. Pursue and prosecute to the fullest extent of the law any employer caught hiring illegal aliens. Increase penalties and enforce existing laws. We should not allow a permanent underclass of slavery, modern day slavery, to exist or to take place here in the United States. We're not even over the first time we did slavery. So I think many people miss this. They don't really catch on to this. They think, oh, well, that's just cheap labor. That's helping them. But we're paying them slave wages, right? That's modern day slavery. You're allowing a type of second-class citizen to exist in your country. And that's not right. That's not fair. That's not equitable. It's not good for anybody involved in that way. The proper way is to go through the legal immigration process, come here, and, and everything's good. Then you can be an American citizen and partake in all these benefits. Otherwise, get the hell out of here. We don't want you here. Step 4, this is a biggie, because you got to attack this stuff at the source. Step 4, have open congressional debates about the United Nations plan called replacement migration. I can't go into a lot of depth about that here on this channel because otherwise YouTube will take me down. They'll take my video down. They don't like people talking about this open printed plan that I found on the UN's website called replacement migration. If you don't know, basically in summary, they say the West is having far too few children, which may be true. But rather than encouraging people to have children in the West, instead they say they need to have this thing called replacement migration, where they bring up all these people from third world countries to take the place of the American babies that are no longer being produced, right? A responsible, good government would say, hey, American citizens, you know, you're not having enough babies. Here's some incentives for you to have more children. And they would promote the family, but instead, everything that the United Nations does is anti-family, anti-United States sovereignty, anti-liberty, anti-freedom, pro-one world government, pro, New World Order. That's what it is. But yeah, we need to have debates about that so the American people can even understand what this is. They don't even know what replacement migration is. They think it's racism when you say that. So we need to withdraw all support from the UN, the United Nations, and the WEF, the World Economic Forum, since they are largely responsible for the invasion that's currently taking place. They've been encouraging these people to do this and paying them to do this. They're giving them debit cards, 5,000, I've heard one report said, $5,000 debit cards. Somewhere down around the Darien Gap, they're getting a hold of a cell phone and some instructions of what to say once they get here. Oh, claim that you're an asylum seeker. That's what they're telling them. They're basically training these people exactly what to say and how to get in. And that's wrong. And so they should be prosecuted for that. And I guess we can't really go after the UN and the WEF because they stand alone as their own organization, but we can certainly withdraw all of our support, including financial, and we can say, get bent, UN. We're not doing any of your stuff anymore. Get bent, WEF. Klaus Schwab, you can go eat all the bugs you want. We're not doing that. We're not doing 15-minute cities. We're not doing, biometrics to track our people. We're not doing a Chinese communist social credit score. We're doing none of that, because that's anti-freedom, anti-liberty, anti-American. So anyway, that's what I would do. But, no one else is going to do that. Maybe Trump. Maybe Trump. But even that, I have my doubts, because these people, they got a lot of lobbyists. They got a lot of money. They got a lot of power. They got a lot of pull in Washington, D.C., and we'll see what happens, but that's what needs to happen. The United States needs to get the hell out of the UN for sure, and the WEF, and tell them to get the hell out of here. We're not putting up with your globalist bullcrap anymore. We don't like your idea. We're going to stay the United States of America. Constitutional United States of America has no room in the Constitution for your WEF UN rules, your 17 goals for sustainability. You guys can get bent. Anyway, moving on. As you can tell, I hate the UN. I hate the WEF. Step 5, pursue and prosecute any company or NGO, non-governmental organization, that is aiding in the invasion. Currently, it's going on right now, all south of the border. They're setting up these, what they call refugee camps, where they're bringing in these people that are in these, notice the language they use. These caravans of people. Oh, doesn't that sound lovely? A caravan of people? How about an army of invaders, military-age males that are coming over our border unchecked? Many of them are CCP members, the Communist Chinese Party. So, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, especially when things are going on over in Taiwan and stuff like this. Iranians, Syrians, you name it, they're sneaking across the border right now. In times of, the build-up to World War III. Would you put it past any of these people to sneak in some terrorists and have somebody, have a sleeper cell and activate that when we're at our most vulnerable? I wouldn't put it past them. So that's why you have to prosecute all these people. Everybody, you have to use the full extent, the full force of the law. And if we don't have a law in place, we need to make a new law so that we can go after these companies and these NGOs that are undermining our immigration process, undermining our border, our sovereignty as a nation. Number 6, federal crackdown on sanctuary cities. prosecute anyone or any state or any city that undermines our current immigration laws by providing sanctuary to the invaders. So, I mean, it's no different really than if you had a friend that robbed a bank and you were hiding them out in your house, right? They're going to come and say you were an accessory to that robbery, whether you did anything about it or not. If you hide the person, you're, aiding and abetting a criminal. So that's what these people are doing in a lot of these cities like San Francisco and New York City and Chicago and all these places that are calling themselves a sanctuary city. Of course, now that they got a taste of a real invasion, a lot of these cities are like, whoa, we didn't actually mean come here, because they can't handle it. They can't handle it. So number 7, this is a big one. A lot of people aren't going to like this. Trump's been talking about it, and that is encouraging to me. I think it's a good thing. Number 7. Mass deportation. If the invaders know that they will most likely be caught and sent back to their home countries, it will discourage them from trying again. It's common sense. All of this stuff is common sense. If you take away all the leftist tricks, the Hegelian dialectics, and the Cloward and Piven strategy to collapse everything, if you take all that crap out and you just look at, hey, here's a problem, how can I fix this? Then usually a common sense solution comes up and you're able to fix these problems. So anyway, of course, they'd have to be implemented. It's one thing for me to say these things. It's another thing for a government to actually implement these things. Step 8, give the Border Patrol and police and National Guard the tools and the authority to enforce the laws. And I would start off with like water cannons and stuff like that as far as deterrence. I noticed that water cannons work a hell of a treat over in Europe. When they're having riots and protests and stuff that are getting out of control, the Europeans, especially the Germans, they have these big tanks, like a APC, troop carrier type, not really tanks, they're still wheeled vehicles. But anyway, they have these big machines like APCs with water cannons mounted on the top of them. Let's do that down on the southern border, except we don't need an APC. We could just have them mounted up on top of the existing wall or on whatever, permanent mounts where a hose goes down into the Rio Grande. We can blast it right at them, and hopefully that would deter a lot of them. But there's also other less lethal weapons like pepper balls, pepper spray, bear spray, so many things. What's the stuff? Not laughing gas. What's it called? I'm drawing a blank right now. Tear gas. Laughing gas would not be good. That would just make them come more. But anyway, the point is we could use a lot of these less than lethal weapons and we could deploy them first. But if that doesn't work, we need to implement more lethal weapons, right? I mean, it only makes sense. If you can't discourage them or dissuade them with softer means, then you have to up the ante. You have to up it until it stops them. Now, I don't think you're going to have to do that forever. But I think if you send a message that, hey, we're not putting up with this crap anymore, we're going to water cannon your ass, we're going to pepper spray your ass, we're going to tear gas your ass, we're going to do all kinds of stuff if you get anywhere close to this border. And if that doesn't work, we're going to pull out the big guns, especially when it comes to dealing with these cartel members. In fact, forget the water cannons and all that less than lethal stuff. If it's dealing with cartel members, straight to the big guns. Step 9, bring back the Immigration Act of 1917 until the United States restores order on the border. So, basically in 1917, a lot of people don't know this, but in 1917, we were having a real problem. We were having so many people flooding over here, and it was costing us a lot of money, and the government was like, hey man, we got to look out for our own before we can just take in all these others. So they came up with this Immigration Act of 1917. Let me give you a basic rundown of what it included here. The Immigration Act banned an ambiguous and long list of people from entering the country. It didn't ban 100% of everybody, but it was a pretty long, ambiguous list. According to the law, these included all idiots, all imbeciles, all feeble-minded persons, epileptics, insane persons, persons with chronic alcoholism, paupers, professional beggars, and those who with tuberculosis and other contagious diseases. And I want to pause right here for a second. Have you guys heard that all of a sudden Chicago is having a big out-of-control measles outbreak? Have you guys heard that there's a recurrence of the bubonic plague going through our country right now? Have you heard that leprosy is on the rise again? Why do you think that is? And oh yeah, by the way, none of these people that have been allowed to come over the border have been required to get a vaccination of any kind. So, I mean, that starts to hit a little close to home, especially to people that were fired or run off their jobs because they refused to get the experimental jab. So it also barred felons, polygamists, prostitutes, and their traffickers or their pimps. And similar to Trump's ban, it blocked entry to those who advocate the overthrow by force or violence of the government of the United States or all forms of law. Anyone who would advocate or teach the duty, necessity, or propriety of killing U.S. officers or officials, and I would include U.S. citizens as well. So basically, if you come over here, you're a damned idiot, you can't read, you can't do any of these things, we're not going to let you in. If you're a beggar, a professional beggar, that's not something we want or need in our economy, right? So we need to be a lot more selective in who we let in, even through the legal immigration process. That's what I'm saying. And we need to consider this putting a pause on our current immigration system until the United States restores order on the border. That's the way I would do it. It also imposed a literacy test requiring newcomers older than 16 to demonstrate basic reading comprehension in any language. So it didn't have to necessarily be English, but they had to show basic reading comprehension, even in their own language. I mean, I don't think that's unfair. We don't want to bring a bunch of dummies and idiots and, and imbeciles and people like that and criminals over here, right? A lot of them are bad people. That's what Trump said. And he was, basically raked over the coals and called a racist because he said that a lot of these people, they're not sending their best and their brightest. This is what he was talking about. But the media, through their Hegelian dialectic, it didn't fit the mold when he said that. So they were like, no, you're a racist. See, that's what they do every time, all the time, 100% of the time. So anyway, let's get into the last one here because this is a big one. Step 10. What do we do about this? How do we stop this crap from ever happening again? Well, you have to prosecute Biden and his entire administration, or at least the ones that had a role in this, for refusing to enforce the laws of the United States. As per Article 2, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution, I quote, "He shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed and shall commission all of the officers of the United States." So the buck stops with him, Joe Biden. And my point is, he's done enough damage, ignored enough of the United States laws. There's enough precedence there, enough proof there that he's openly undermining Texas and Arizona's ability to defend their own borders. This guy certainly needs to be impeached and, in my opinion, needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Now, obviously, no one in Biden's DOJ is going to do any of this stuff. But maybe, just maybe, if Trump puts the right person in charge of the DOJ, they could go after this person. They could go after Biden. They could go after Mayorkas. They could go after all of these people that are in Biden's deep state cabinet and bring justice upon them. And then what that would do is send a message to the rest of the globalists and the Democrats and the communists that are still in power or hope to hold power in the future. It would send a message that, hey, if you do this, you're going to get nailed for it, okay? You have to enforce the existing laws or find a way to change those laws within the system. The Constitution can be amended. So if Biden does not want to be the enforcer or what does it say here specifically? It says that he shall take care that the laws be faithfully executed. So if he doesn't want that, then we could have a constitutional amendment to take that out of the Constitution. But they don't want to do that, see? They don't want to do that. No, they want to undermine everything by going around doing these dirty little things where they're undercutting all of our liberty. That's what this is. When you see these people coming over, unchecked, uncounted, undocumented, just know they are stealing money and resources straight away from you and your family. That should piss you off. That should make you enraged at the current system. If you live in one of these sanctuary cities, you should be doing things to either vote these people out or run for office and replace these people, with sound, common sense ideology. It's easy. These are the 10 steps that could restore our border and help our country immensely. We would save over $150 billion a year once this is done. Why aren't we doing it? Well, there's a lot of people that benefit from that cheap labor. There's a lot of people that don't want to see it change on the left and the right. So we're in a real pickle here. Hopefully the next person comes in, maybe it's Trump. It's certainly not going to be under the Biden administration. So if they steal another election and Biden remains in power, none of this stuff's going to happen. We're going to continue on the Hegelian dialectic, Cloward and Piven strategy to destroy everything. To destroy everything, cause maximum chaos, so that way that gives them the power. You know, once you're beat down in the corner so far by all of this invasion that's going on, all these illegals all around you, and terrorist attacks are going on, and there aren't any jobs left, and you know, whatever, right? You can just imagine it can get way worse than it is now. Once that happens, and you're in a desperate situation, you'll be begging the government to do something to regulate you, and in the name of stopping the border invasion. They won't really stop the invasion though. See, that's their power. They don't want to stop it. That's the secret. If they did, they would do any one of these 10 things and it would make a huge difference in stopping it. So Ron Paul was right. Back in 2012, I believe, is when he first said it. The first time I heard him say it. If you want to stop the illegal invasion that's going on the southern border, turn the magnet off. And prosecute, I'm adding this part, prosecute the hell out of anybody that breaks the law. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments. As always, guys, I stand for liberty to the bitter end. I hope you do too.